A new adventure has arrived, and in it we are continuing our quest to find a cure for Tasha, who has been afflicted with the skeleton curse. So get ready for some more sailing as we discuss both gameplay and some of the lore. Just like always, we start with talking to Larina, who will point us towards Olivia. It took her a while, but Olivia has finally finished her ritual on Brixie's skull. She tells us Brixie believed the ancients did create a cure and that finding it is connected to Brixie's own hunt for the secret stars. And it is our job to finish this hunt using a book made by Tasha where she wrote down the endeavors of Brixie. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it is. These elements were also present in the legendary storyteller Talltale, but also the previous adventure. Unlike the previous adventure, Olivia also hands us Brixie's mask. She tells us the memories in this mask will help us in our adventure. And thanks to that, it feels like we are traveling with the real Brixie, since she will often remark on her past journeys. Just keep in mind, this is the memory of Brixie talking to us and not the real deal. At least not yet. So with this book in hand, we set sail to start the adventure proper. We need to use Brixie's mask at the locations mentioned in the book. When you are near the right spot, you will also hear the music changing, so you know you are close. We then use the mask while looking at the sky to form specific constellations. It may seem a bit confusing at first, but as soon as you've done your first one, you realize these are actually pretty easy. And also a lot of fun. When completing these constellations, we are also rewarded with Brixie's memory, commenting on how these constellations are connected to the ancients and her quest in finding the cure. It can be a lot to take in, and we will discuss all of this during the next podcast episode. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you subscribe. For now, all you need to know is that the ancients locked away the cure in a temple of trials, and that certain figures like the ancient prince are connected to the story of this temple. When a constellation is complete, you are also on the spot where you need to dig. The items we dig up are chests and keys, and these chests contain pieces of an ancient amulet, which Tasha already gave us the first piece to. So before we fast forward to the completion of this amulet, let's quickly go over the additional memories you can unlock in this adventure. These are all optional, but if you want the title, it is something you need to do. You can get a hint to their locations when looking at the deeds, or you can just follow along with this video. You can do them in any order, but we started at the Ancient Spire Tavern. Brixie tells us she often came here to visit Tasha. Tasha not only felt like a sort of family to her, but it also made Brixie feel like she was a better person than she actually was. At Crook's Hollow, she talks about completing and hiding away the Shroudbreaker. You know, the artifact we discovered early on in the Shores of Gold Talltales. She also talks about missing the old times from before she was cursed. And at Thieves Haven, we learned that, just like Ramsey, this was the first place she landed when she came to the Sea of Thieves. This is also the place where she stole her first ship, the Homeward Dove, which she sees as the beginning of her journey in becoming Captain Brixie. And fun fact, both Brixie and the Homeward Dove make a physical appearance in the Athena's Fortune novel. And this sloop can also be found in the Shores of Gold. At the North Star Sea Post, we learned that Brixie had a similar fascination with the stars, just like Suts, and they formed a friendly relationship, which is a nice touch to both these characters. And on Lone Cove, she talks about meeting Rose. She describes her as wild, which is pretty obvious. But we also learned that Brixie blames herself a little for enticing Rose into a life of adventure. So I could complain about the sailing needed to unlock these memories, but I don't really care about that, so let's focus on the positive. I really liked how we get to see more of Brixie's personality. It's also a nice change from just reading journals, and it also saves me time from writing these journals out for these videos. I thought it was great to hear Brixie think so highly of herself, and she may come across as a little arrogant, but she does have the skills to back it up. To put it simply, she feels like a true pirate. But let's go back to the main adventure. When we complete the final constellation, Brixie's memory figures out that the temple is actually located in the Sea of the Damned. We then dig up the final piece of the amulet and hand it over to the memory of Brixie. but she turns out not to be a memory anymore. While she is trying to figure out how this could have happened, the Dark Brethren appear. Well, most of them at least. Something you might notice is that the voice of Captain Warsmith changed a little bit since last time, and we also have Amaranta showing off her hips in the background. Warsmith tells us that using Briggsy's mask in these figments of the past, you know, the green patches in the wilds, manifested the real Briggsy. This because the wilds used to have similar powers to the Sea of the Damned, where memories can become real. And if this sounds a little convoluted, it's because it is, but for now we roll with it. The Dark Brethren admit to cursing Tasha and demand Briggsy guides them in locating the cure. Briggsy gives a sassy no, but Wanda tells her she will make sure Tasha's curse doesn't get worse if she agrees. Briggsy, wanting to help Tasha, does, and the three of them leave the scene, taking the amulet that's needed for the temple with them. We also get the last pages to the book, in which we can get some insight in what the temple is about. Aside from the cure being pink sauce, we also learn about a certain monster hidden away. We don't really use this information now, but it's a great tease to the next adventure. We now also have a cursed cannonball in our possession, which is the artifact Wanda gave us to slow down Tasha's curse. It being a cursed cannonball is a nice touch, since Wanda was the one responsible for reintroducing these weapons in the Sea of Thieves. When we go to Plunder Outpost and hand in the cursed cannonball, Olivia does confirm that it will do as Wanda told. This also ends the adventure, and we finally get Briggsy's mask as an actual reward. Sadly, it's just a trinket. Maybe we need to shout a little louder until they give us what we want. But on the positive, it's still a nice trinket. And who knows, we still have one adventure left in this arc, and a real mask would be the perfect reward. So, is this a good adventure? Well, I think it is. First of all, I like that it's full of personality. Briggsy is a character that has been part of stories already told in the Sea of Thieves, but now we finally have a better feel of her character. And I have to say, I really like her. She is confident, she's even more protective of Tasha than I would have guessed, and she is a person that quickly takes action when needed. Yeah, we heard about these traits in the past, but now we actually see her acting these out, and that felt really great. And I'm still amazed that the developers can think of new ways to find buried treasure. Completing these constellations was really fun to do, and Briggsy explaining them was a nice additional reward. One point of complaint could be that this adventure is a bit similar to the previous one, since we are still searching for the cure while using clues left behind by Briggsy. And it doesn't help that we also visit the same islands. Still, it doesn't bother me since everything feels more fleshed out, like the chest being themed to the adventure instead of just using the default ones. And unlike the previous adventure, we actually have a proper climax that gets me really excited for the next adventure. Not only will this be the finale of this arc, but also the final adventure as part of the first 12 that were planned. Something that did bother me was Wanda changing voice and Rare having to invent new rules to explain Briggsy's return. I wish they were a little more consistent, but to be fair, it did allow Briggsy to travel with us, and that was a great touch. So overall, I'm really pleased with this adventure, and I just had a great time playing it. But what about you? Please let me know in the comments, I do read all of them. For now, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.